Hi, friends, and welcome to Backstage with Freddie Phillips and Friends. You're on Gateway Television, Gateway Group TV out of Norton, Virginia, Channel 37 in Wise, Dickinson, and Lee counties, and Channel 18 over in Russell County. And thanks to all of you watching and all of you in the outlying areas as well. This is a special edition of Backstage. It is truly an honor to be talking with a legend in not only bluegrass and old-time mountain music, he likes to call it, but also in country music. And you know, they elected Bill Monroe also into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. It wouldn't surprise me if they end up putting Ralph Stanley in 3 or 4 more Hall of Fames before it's over with. Dr. Ralph, good to see you as always.
Freddie, it's real good to see you too. Glad to get to sit and talk with you.
All right there. Well, I tell you what, it's just great being up here in front of your home here on Sandy Ridge.
Well, this looks like a good place to do some talking, don't it?
It sure does. Very comfortable anyway, isn't it?
Yeah, we're comfortable right here.
But these days, as we're taping this in the spring of 2001, you don't see home very much anymore, do you?
Well, about a third of the time, I guess. Sometimes half the time, but I stay on the road a lot.
Friends, right here is one of the reasons why, if not the reason why.
Well,
Zoom in, take a look at this, Mr. Cameraman. The soundtrack to the hottest movie in America, Oh Brother, Where Art Thou?
Freddie, that's done a whole lot for me, and I think it's done a lot for all the people that plays this type of music. I think it's helped everything.
Now, Gillian Welch and David Rawlings, that's played your festival last couple of years, I saw that Gillian was in the movie, and Gillian was the associate music producer along with T-Bone Burnett, and I'm sure they pretty much picked out all the music that would be on this soundtrack.
Yeah, I think so. I believe that T-Bone done most of it. I know he's the one talked to me and one of the Old Death that I sung.
When I seen where they put Old Death in that movie, I just cracked up. I mean, that was one of the funniest scenes in the entire movie. But besides that, let's get back to the serious side of Old Death. Where did you come up this song?
See, I'd recorded that song, I believe, twice before, but I done it in a different style. You see, Carter and me, the Stanley brothers, recorded Old Death. And then I recorded it later with Keith Whitley doing lead singing. And of course, we used music and used a trio on the chorus, which we sung the chorus each time we done a verse, you see. But this one is an old style, I guess Doc Boggs style, you might call it. That's where they sent me the record of Doc Boggs was singing Old Death, and he played his banjo along with it. And they said they wanted to do it that style, so I took my banjo and went down, rehearsed it, and auditioned for them on it, and they took it. They said, yeah, that would be fine. Well, I said, would you mind to let me sing it for you like I'd like to sing it and see what you think of that? So I threw the banjo away and got up and sung it a cappella, and I hadn't done 2 verses till they said, that's what we want.
I was talking to you up here last week, just stopped by to visit, and I said, Ralph, it's hard for me to classify that song, Old Death. I said, it's not really gospel, it seems like. It's not really a cappella that you made that. And you remember what you told me last week? That you don't sing it to them.
I try to preach it a little bit.
That's it.
Best I can.
Oh, I haven't forgot that.
It gets a pretty touchy sound to it, don't it?
Well, it's different, that's for sure.
And there's some words into it that's scary, too.
Oh, yeah.
I sing it on all of my shows, and you can hear a pin drop when I announce that. I don't know where it scares them or what it is, but there's something about it that's doing good for me.
Well, I heard you do it recently at the Grand Ole Opry in Nashville, Tennessee, and it's hard to get that kind of response. It's hard to even get an encore at Grand Ole Opry, and you just did it all.
Yeah, I believe I did. Well, you know, when we did that, premiered that on in the Ryman Auditorium, you know, and out of the whole group, I was the only one that got a standing ovation for a couple of minutes. It was a couple of minutes. I just finally had to say, please hush.
Wow. Oh, Death. What a song. Also, of course, featured in the soundtrack, Oh Brother, Where Art Thou? I'm a Man of Constant Sorrow.
Yeah, that was done by Dan Comanci. You know, it come out of the lips of
George Clooney.
George Clooney.
Everybody thinks he's singing that.
I know it. And he impersonated it pretty good. Him and the other two fellers too, you know, that sung in it. But I've been singing that song regular for 55 years. And, you know, he put a little bit of a beat and a little bit of a bounce to it. But the first, a lot of people ask who wrote that song, and I don't know because I'd say it's a lot older than I am. And the first man I heard sing that was my daddy.
Wow.
And he knew a couple of verses of it, and Carter and me finished the other, what we put to it, and sung it.
Well, I know in the country music trades and all the credits that you'll find on the CDs, it'll say, it doesn't have a writer listed, but it always says arranged by Carter Stanley.
Yeah, the Constant Sorrow, yeah.
Sure does.
Yeah.
And finally, on this soundtrack, they closed the movie with Angel Band.
I think that's pretty much of a highlight right there, too. When that old-time sound comes on there, well, I'll tell you, that's something. That's something you don't hear anymore.
Doesn't the song Angel Band go back to the 40s?
Yeah, it does. It does. And I have to sing that on every show now. It's requested, and it goes over about as good or better than any of them that we do.
Now, I'm sure you have to do Man of Constant Sorrow.
Oh, yeah, I do it on every show, too, yeah.
And Old Death. Had you been doing those songs the last few years in your set?
I've done Man of Constant Sorrow pretty regularly, you know, all through the years, because if I didn't do it, well, it's been requested. And I just about have to do that on. But now I feature it every night as I play.
Ladies and gentlemen, I recently had the opportunity and privilege and honor, and I say that with the utmost respect, of being on stage at the Grand Ole Opry as a part of the Johnny Russell tribute. The likes of Garth Brooks, Vince Gill, Ricky Skaggs, the Oak Ridge Boys, George Lindsay from the Andy Griffith Show, you name it, they were there to pay homage and tribute to Johnny Russell, who's been a little under the weather the last year or so. And we wish a speedy recovery to him. When I was there, I noticed something with the Grand Ole Opry that weekend, and something that had been going on for the last month or two. A lot of it had to do with this movie. Out of everybody walking by, Vince Gill and everybody else, there were reporters from Australia, Japan, New Zealand, you name it, they were there, whether it dealt with internet, radio, or television. And there were two people that were the most sought-after interviews. And this came straight from the office of the Grand Ole Opry, and I didn't even have to ask. Garth Brooks and Ralph Stanley. That's who they wanted to talk to. I watched them walk by many famous entertainers in a rush to get to you.
Well, I appreciate that, and I should have been there, hadn't I?
That's true. They were looking for you. And the last time, as a matter of fact, you and I were there, I guess it was February or March. All my dates are running together. On one other occasion, again, according to the Grand Ole Opry, those out of their entire cast, and there's like 75 members to the cast of the Grand Ole Opry, you and Garth are the most sought-after interviews.
Well, that makes me feel good, Freddie.
All over the world.
Just keep talking.
That is good. Amazing.
Yeah, I'm real proud of that.
Ralph, you've had a wonderful career, but my goodness, how can you stand anymore?
Well, I've had a good career. I've done well, but in the last couple of years, I can tell a big difference. We're still getting our old fans, and we're getting a lot of new fans. A lot of young people are coming around now that did listen to the rock and roll that they call country music now, you know.
Yeah.
And I like to see people like that.
You know, I mentioned Garth a while ago. I remember Garth when he didn't even have a hit song, and he's never forgotten me. He's such a great man, and you've met Garth. Matter of fact, Garth Brooks wants to record with you, I understand.
Yeah, he wanted to record with me on this last project I did with Clinch Mountain Country, but he was having a record release about that time, and his company didn't want him to do that, so he didn't get to do it.
But it's still not out of the question. As a matter of fact, he's even went as far as picking a song that he wants to do, right?
Yeah, he had picked the fields to turn brown that he wanted to do, and he wanted to do it. But you know, if you're signed to a record company exclusive, why they've got the last word.
I'm still holding out hope that you two get together and record together.
I'd be very glad to, yes, sir.
Before I stray too much farther into some other projects, and we'll get to that in our first break, Ralph, really, what has this movie done, not only for the career of Ralph Stanley and the Clinch Mountain Boys, but for music in general?
Well, it's really done wonders for, I said, especially for me, and then all the people that plays what they call bluegrass music, and it's really done wonders. You know, it's just about give as big a boost as bluegrass festivals did when they first started in 1965. You know, bluegrass music was down sort of low until the festivals started, and that really gave the bluegrass a big boost.
When you go out on the road here in 2001, you've already done several dates. As we're taping this in the month of May, how are people responding? I understand you're having to turn them away maybe at the doors, and a bunch of kids showing up. They're wanting to hear some songs from this.
Yeah, that's right. I believe in the last 2 months, or maybe a little over now, we have turned away from 300 to 400 people everywhere that we've been, with the exception of one place, and I was told that wasn't advertised. So if they don't know you're going to be there, they don't know to come, do they?
No, they don't. We were talking about the soundtrack, Oh Brother, Where Art Thou, from the motion picture. As a matter of fact, I think it's already set a record here in Coburn. It played on the movie theaters here in the Coburn Cinema for like 3 or 4 months consecutively.
That's the truth. It did. And, you know, I've already been to the Mercury party and already got a platinum record.
Platinum.
And you know when you get a platinum record, that it's sold over 1 million. And what I'm so proud of, Freddie, is
it this generation right here that's bringing this movie to the top, right?
And then
come on over here and turn around and look at this camera right here.
Again, Freddie, I'm not including you in this, but this big-time country radio wouldn't play that. And I'm proud.
I'm far from big time, you know it.
And I'm proud to tell the folks, though, that this old-time music hit #1 without the help of the big shots.
Who's this, and that's great, who's the leader of this young generation here?
Well, that's Evan Stout. He's my grandson, my daughter's young boy, and I believe he's
Tanya's.
Tanya, yeah, and he's 2 years old, I believe. I believe he'll be 3 years old in November.
He's a big 2-year-old.
Oh,
you know, the greatest people in the world born in November, because I was born there.
He loves music.
Me and you born in November. That's good.
He loves music, and he calls my banjo. He's crazy about that, and he calls it hoo-hoo. Every time he comes in, he'll say, "Papa, hoo-hoo."
Where's the spoon player at?
Yeah. I believe he left, didn't he, Jimmy? Yeah.
While we're in this first break, Jimmy, step on over here in front of the mic. Come on. It doesn't matter. Look at me. I've worked all day. Matter of fact, Ralph's worked out in the field.
I've got my work.
Ladies and gentlemen, right here is you introduce and describe this lady right here, just what she means to the career of Ralph Stanley.
Well, she's a young lady that I met about, let's see, in 1966, I believe, if I go wrong now. 61, okay. If I say something wrong, you tell me. Well, and first time I saw her, you know, she took my eye, and I just said to myself, well, now, right there's a woman for me. And so about 6 years later, she become my wife. I'm married in 1968, I believe, and been married ever since. And we have 3 fine children and 6 nice grandchildren from all of that.
Jimmy, it's good to have you here on the show.
It's good to be here.
And I see you doing some dance steps at these shows.
Yeah,
and the crowd gets involved, too.
I love to dance.
She's a real dancer, isn't she, Ralph?
Yeah, she can cut the rug a little bit.
Oh, mercy.
Old-time Kentucky backstep.
Where did y'all meet?
Cincinnati.
Cincinnati.
Go ahead and tell.
She was born and raised.
I want you to tell maybe we get both versions here.
She's born and raised in Kentucky, Pine Knot, Kentucky.
Yeah,
Tell me about this first meeting with Ralph Stanley.
Well, they wanted me to go when I was 16, but I wouldn't go see the Stanley brothers.
They wanted you
My brother-in-law and sister.
to. Okay.
And so about 4 years later, I went.
Don't tell them nothing I wouldn't want.
All right, you finally meet him. I'm sure at one of his personal appearances.
Yeah, he has it in the book, where he met me in that. And I was wanting my brother-in-law and sister to leave, but they wouldn't go because they're big fans, and Dwayne, there's no way Dynamite wouldn't got him out. So anyway, he told Ralph, "I'll see you tomorrow, buddy." And Ralph said, "Okay, you're coming back." And I said, "Not me. No, I won't be back." Then I dreamed he kissed me that night and all day, that evening. Then I ended up back. That's where it started.
Whoa!
And he kissed me then that night.
And you got in their
I
dreams,
jerked
and
my head like he'd bit me.
And we lived happy ever
And
after.
lived happy ever after. Yeah.
oh, that's
I
wonderful.
love him, yeah.
That is wonderful. Mrs. Ralph Stanley right there. Well, friends, we're going to take a break. We'll be back with more Backstage with Freddie Phillips and friends, and one of the truly great friends I've ever known in my life, Dr. Ralph Stanley. He's on top of the world right now, and we've got a lot to talk about, so
Thank
stay
you,
tuned.
Freddie.
That was good. Hey, welcome back to Gateway Group TV and this special presentation of Backstage with Freddie Phillips and friends. We're visiting here at the home of Dr. Ralph Stanley, Sandy Ridge in Dickinson County, Virginia, here in the month of May of 2001. As I mentioned before we went into break, this man, it seems like, is at the top of the world. He's won numerous awards, too many to even mention on this program. He became a member of the Grand Ole Opry, and I was one of a very select few people that got to be there because it's limited in space backstage at the Ryman Auditorium. Ralph, what was it like to be inducted into the Grand Ole Opry at what a lot of people think is the real home of the Grand Ole Opry, the Ryman Auditorium?
Well, I was real glad that they did. I did get to get inducted in the Ryman. The other place is fine, but the Ryman Auditorium, there's something magic about that, and it has so much to, you get to thinking about them old timers that's walked on that stage, and that's another thing that gives me a big boost. It's the Grand Ole Opry, and I'm certainly proud to be a member of the Grand Ole Opry.
Well, I'm sure you and Carter played the Grand Ole Opry back to Ryman, didn't you?
No, Carter and me never did play
never
the
did?
Ryman. The first time I played the Ryman, excuse me, that'll be good, won't it? First time I played the Ryman was 1970, and Ricky Skaggs and Keith Whitley was with me the first time that I ever played the Opry.
1970.
1970. Carter and me never played it. Of course, Carter worked with Bill Monroe, a while, and he had been on the Opry, but never together.
Wow, and Keith Whitley and Ricky Skaggs.
That was my
I didn't know
first-
that.
Yeah, they was in the band. Royal East Center, Curly Ray Klein, Jack Cook. The first appearance on the Grand Ole Opry.
I understand that you have had an invitation to become a member many, many years ago.
Well, actually, I never did, pursue it too much. I could have probably got on earlier, maybe, but when I decided I really wanted to get on the Opry, which I've always wanted to, seemed like everybody fell in and helped me, and my good buddy Porter Wagner, helped a lot, and this seemed like all the Opry stars was real pleased that I got on the Opry.
It's a wonderful night. You had the who's who of the entertainment business there, backstage and on stage. Reba McEntire, Patty Loveless. As a matter of fact, she helped induct you in.
Yeah,
as a
Patty
member.
Loveless sung a song with me, on that night.
What a song. Let's talk about that song.
Pretty Polly.
How many verses to that song?
I guess if you'd sang them all, you'd probably be 30 more. But
How many do you usually sing on stage?
I sang probably about 10 or 12 or something. I just sang, I think, the most important verses.
Okay.
The best to suit
I don't
me.
think I could remember all the words of that. I'd have to have some cheat notes or something for that.
Well, I have to have some cheaters, papered on a lot of them, but it seemed like I got through that, and I just had to sing half of it,
Just half of it.
Yeah.
Just half of it. My goodness.
be good now.
Pretty Polly, that was a big song, wasn't it? It went at number one for a long
made
time.
number one for months in bluegrass. Yeah, it certainly did. Yeah.
But like I said, there was a lot of people there that night. That was a wonderful time when we were down there at the Ryman Auditorium. And, of course, being a member, that was in 2000. That was in January of 2000, and you were the first member inducted into the new millennium.
That's right.
That was just a lot of firsts right there.
That was a lot of firsts. That's a night I'll never forget. I'm real proud of that, and I just have to say I'm really tickled.
Well, Dr. Ralph, you're getting ready to play Carnegie Hall, I understand.
Going to Carnegie Hall on June 13th to sing Old Death.
Of all songs. They want you to do Old Death.
Of all songs.
Wow.
And I'll tell you, you'd be surprised at the people in New York City and surrounding areas there that just love that old time. They like it. This is old time as you can get it.
If I'm not mistaken, you play a lot of shows in the greater New York and upper Northeast area, don't you?
Yeah, I've played New York City 3 or 4 times. I played it the first time, I think, in about 70 and 7 or 69 somewhere. I've played up that way I played all the way to Maine, and we do festivals up that way, and I've played all over New York.
Have you ever played Carnegie Hall before?
Yeah, I sung a song. I sung the Man of Constant Sorrow there about 4 or 5 years ago.
Wow. And then you're coming back. What was it like to play Carnegie Hall? What was different about it?
Well, I didn't see much difference. Everybody, it's sort of like, not as big, but it's something like the Grand Ole Opry. All entertainers, I think, would be proud to sing in the Carnegie Hall. But it was just, for me, I mean, the way they liked me up there, it was 2 or 3 minutes when I walked out on the stage before I could start the song. And I got another one when I finished it, Man of Constant Sorrow. And I'm hoping to do that again this year.
Wow. Just simply amazing. And abroad, overseas, you're an international star.
Yeah, I've been over to Europe, I guess, 3 or 4 times. And the first, I guess, Carter and me went over in 1966, the year that Carter died. We went in April, I believe, and he passed away in December. And we was the first, we were the first with the other group with us, that sung for the German public. We didn't play any military base or anything like that. It was for the public, German public.
Wow. All right, so you've played England. I know you played Japan. You recorded live in Japan.
Played England, Switzerland, Sweden, Germany. I don't know, 5 or 6 of them. And we've been to Japan 3 times. First trip I went to Japan was 1971.
That's when the album Live in Japan was recorded.
Yeah, 1971.
And that still sounds as good today. I mean, I play that CD at home. It sounds so good.
Oh, they've really got good equipment in Japan for, cameras and things like that.
So that's why it still sounds so good 30 years later.
That's right, yeah. Uh-huh.
What was it like the first time you went to Japan?
Well, when we first got off the plane over there, it's just like, I've watched television a lot, and seen the president go somewhere and speak and see all the big people, And that's the way it was when we got off the plane. You couldn't see for the cameras and the lined up people to watch us get off, and I just felt pretty good. Pretty good.
Felt like a king, didn't you?
Yes, sir. And they treated us like a king, too.
Wow. Have you talked about going back overseas anytime soon?
Well, over in, they wanted us in Japan again last year, but something happened that didn't go through, but I think they're wanting us as soon as we can make it again. And then I never can think of the place down under.
Australia.
I never can think.
In the Outback. They're trying to send Ralph Stanley to the Outback. Huh?
They've been working on a show for coming over there and staying 6 weeks. They say they start on one corner.
Are they trying to put you on that show Survivor? Is that what they're trying to do?
I guess. They go all around it,
Wow.
And I'd say that'll probably happen before too long. I think.
That's amazing. So that'll make about number 7 or number 8 as far as countries you've toured.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
Well, I hope that happens.
Well, I dread a trip over there and back. It's the worst of it.
But you won't dread the experience, will you, when you get there?
No, I think I'd like to go over there.
All right.
But 6 weeks is a long time.
Well, I'll tell you what, while we're in this break right here, let's talk about the festival. I've got some cheat notes right here. We're gearing up for the 31st annual Dr. Ralph Stanley's Memorial Bluegrass Festival. And of course, this is at the Hills of Home Park, Smith Ridge, just down the road from right here where we're at, between Coburn and McClure, Virginia. This will be on Thursday, May 24th, also on Friday the 25th, and concluding Saturday night, May the 26th. And Thursday it starts at 5 o'clock in the afternoon, running until about 11 o'clock. Friday it starts at 12 noon, going until 11 o'clock. Now, I MC that Friday night show, and they know I run over a little bit on Friday night. Now, I hope that doesn't bother you up there at your camper there.
No, sometimes you have to,
I do it intentionally. I'm like Marty Robbins. It's become a tradition, and they won't leave.
I think the people likes it that way.
They won't leave.
No.
And then on Saturday, 12 noon until 11:30 at night, and I know you guys will go longer than that.
Oh, yeah.
You'll have Willard doing that closing show, and that's usually the way it goes. But anyway, at the festival this year, on Thursday night, of course, Dr. Ralph Stanley and his Clinch Mountain Boys will be there all 3 days. You got the old man Jimmy Martin coming back, don't you?
Jimmy's coming back on Thursday, yeah.
And the Sunny Mountain Boys. Lewis family will be there. Tim White and the VW Boys out of Tri-Cities. The Larkin family. Gary and Verlin Sanders, some old friends of ours, they're back, and Cross Ties. Now, on Friday night, of course, or Friday day at 12 noon, Dr. Ralph Stanley and Clinch Mountain Boys. Lonesome River Band. Wow, I saw them recently down in Pigeon Forge, and they are super.
Yeah, that'll be their first trip there.
Third time out. Have they ever played this festival?
No, they've never played it either. That'd be both of them's first time.
Boy, they're hot, too.
Yeah, they are.
Gillian Welch and David Rawlings, this will make their third time.
That's right.
I believe I was the first to introduce them when they first came here, and I'm very proud of that. Larry Sigmund, Barbara Poole, always a crowd favorite.
Oh, yeah, like
Ramona Church and Carolina Road, I'm not familiar with their music very much, but be interesting to see them. And the Principals Quartet, I know they're very popular.
Right.
Now, on Saturday, 12 noon until 11:30 at night, Dr. Ralph Stanley, Clinch Mountain Boys. Larry Sparks and the Lonesome Ramblers. Now, that was your first singer.
That was my first lead singer after Carter passed away.
Boy, he's a crowd pleaser to this day. Yeah. Doyle, Lawson, and Quicksilver back 2 years in a row.
Yeah.
And then you got Melvin Goins and Wendy Mountain. George Shuffler, good to have George back this year.
Yeah, Uncle George, goes a way back. He traveled about 17 years with Carter and me, and Uncle George is 75 years old now.
Wow.
Still going.
Well, he's like you. He doesn't look or even act his age. You've got the Kentucky Mountain Boys. They were on stage last year, did a great job. Dale Kennedy Band.
Yeah, Dale's been...
Boy, man, you can tell some stories about Dale Kennedy, can't we?
Oh, I reckon. Dale's a dandy, you know it.
I think the world of him.
Yeah, I do too. Yeah, Dale, he always helps me out on doing some spots, for the for the festival and everything. And
he'll have him a band together, and he'll show up one.
He'll have a band together, yeah.
And the Wilson Brothers and Wilderness Road, and who knows, there may even be some surprises there. Ralph, I understand that you can't get advance tickets to the festival. You just have to show up, right?
Just have to show up. There was a band called a couple of weeks ago from England, and they're wanting me to figure them out about a little spot, to go on as special guests, and they probably will be there.
Okay. We'll be looking forward to that. But anyway, they'll have to get their tickets at the festival.
Mm-hmm.
And
to come in the gate.
All right. And again, that's on Thursday, May the 24th, Friday 25th, and Saturday, May the 26th. That's 3 big days, and there's plenty of entertainment going on. You've got, be sure and bring your lawn chairs for this.
Yeah.
They do have 24-hour security, and this festival's come a long way. They've got concessions, shower facilities, water, camping in the rough, approximately 150 electrical hookups on a first-come, first-served basis. No alcohol or coolers allowed in the concert area. No golf carts or four-wheelers, and no animals, no pets in that area, too. And it's professionally run, and we'll have a good time, won't we?
We certainly will, Freddie, and I guess this is the biggest package I've ever booked on the festival in the 31. This will be 31 years, and I know we've got more talent than we've ever had.
I'm going to stay on the subject of the festival for this break right here. This is a question that's been burning in my mind for some time. When I was going to interview you, I'm like, I have to ask him this. What originated? What brought about you putting together this festival for the first time?
Well, Carter passed away, and I didn't want Carter's name to die down. And I have done my best to keep his name alive, which I have.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know of many people that's been gone for 35 or 40 years that still just about spoke of every day. And I wanted to keep his name alive, and that's one reason I called it the Memorial Bluegrass Festival.
Mm-hmm.
And then I just wanted to have a festival at the old home place anyway, and but that's one reason I did it. Not that he would help it any as far as crowds or anything, but I just wanted to keep his name alive.
And of course, he was buried up there
He was
near the
buried up
festival.
there, and I knew that a lot of people would like to come and see his grave, which they do, and a lot of people sit up in that cemetery all night
Play music, don't
and
they?
play music. Well, see, this live music goes on there starting Thursday at 12 all through it. Saturday night plays continuously 24 hours a day, and it's about they taped about 100 songs of Carter and me singing, and that's all they play, and it just plays continuously day and night.
That's amazing. That really is. Out of that festival, there have been a lot of memories, haven't there?
Yes, sir. Certainly have.
Tell me one of the funniest things that ever happened at the festival. One of the most memorable things.
Well, let's see now. I don't know. Well, the first year we had it, it snowed.
Wow. Well, what did you hold it in May or March or?
May, we held it at the same time, the Memorial Weekend in May,
And it snowed.
and we had some snow. Now it didn't lay on much, but we had some ice and snow.
Well, when I was growing up as a little kid, I remember it rained just about every year.
Well, it's rained about every year, except I'd say there've been 2 or 3 years that it didn't rain a drop. There've been some years it didn't rain much, and then there've been some years we had to wash out. That don't stop people. I mean, I know it keeps a lot of people from coming, but I've seen them pull off their shoes and wade mud there barefooted, and they're dedicated to that festival. People that come there, they, a lot of people's been there every year, and they're dedicated to that.
Wow.
And everybody says that feels more like home and more of a down-to-earth, people getting together and mixing with each other than anywhere in the United States where they have a festival.
Well, they'll come not only from the United States, but last year I noticed there were several people from foreign countries that came to this.
We've had people from Japan and England and Germany and Ireland and several foreign countries.
And I also look back at this festival. I know you were close with the father of bluegrass. They call him Mr. Bill Monroe and his Bluegrass Boys. I look back, there was Bill. Marshall family got their name and their recognition from this festival, and the Country Gentlemen, the Seldom Seen. Everybody, the who's who of bluegrass music, past and present, have played this festival at one time.
Yeah, just about everybody has. Bill Monroe, he played my festival every year until he got disabled. And I'm the only man that played his festival every year and still playing it.
Bean Blossom.
Yeah, and I think it's about 35th or 6th year, and I've played every one of them.
Mm-hmm. You remember when the festivals, at one time there was no such thing as a bluegrass festival, but you remember when they all got started?
Yeah, they started in 1965 in Fincastle, Virginia. And Carlton Haney had the first one, and
He was a promoter, wasn't he?
I have to give Carlton credit for having the idea and coming up with, to have Bluegrass Festival.
I know that there's a couple of record companies that's put out a CD set called the Newport Folk Festivals. And one of them even, I don't know how accurate this is or not, but one of them says it's one of the last recorded performances that Carter Stanley ever gave. And he had like a sore throat or was feeling bad, but man, you guys sounded so good at Newport.
I believe that was 1964, if I'm not mistaken.
Oh, you think so?
Died in 66. But they put out a record, something, a tape or something on. We're on that. And I believe it's 1964.
Okay. I know that they put a set 64.
Yeah.
But I thought I read somewhere about one of the last performances they caught on tape.
It was, it was a year and a half or something.
Wow.
Boy, it was one of the last ones, yeah.
And now this here we go. Bluegrass festivals took off, of course, right there in the 60s. Who would have ever thought that? But here we are in 2001. They're just as hot as ever.
Getting bigger all the time.
Wow, that's just amazing. Folks, we've got more. We'll be back with Dr. Ralph Stanley with this special edition of Backstage with Freddie Phillips and Friends. Don't go anywhere. We are backstage, sort of. No, we're in the front of the home. This is Backstage with Freddie Phillips and Friends, and we appreciate you making this show a success in Russell County, Lee, Wise, and Dickinson counties, and who knows wherever else it's being watched. Ralph, this has been an honor to be able to sit and spend some time with you. Like we have several of our favorite entertainers, whether they be bluegrass, country, or gospel, or whatever. But right here in the front of the home, here on Sandy Ridge in Dickinson County, Virginia, May of 2001. Ernie Benko, who is my director for this program, he has a couple of questions that he would like to ask you, and he won't come over here to ask them, so he asked you off mic, so I'll repeat it for the audience. Number one, how's the mayor doing?
Mayor Jack Cook, he's still with me, you know. He missed about 4 or 5 months last winter because he had open heart surgery. But he's back now, and he's better than ever, and he's gained a lot of his weight back and just as mean as ever. And Jack has been with me longer, stayed with me longer than any Clinch Mountain boy. Curly Ray Klein played the fiddle with me for 26 and a half years, which he'd have still been with me if he'd lived and stayed able. But Jack now has been with me, is with me right now in May, 31 years. And that's a long time, and he's still going.
And he's
going strong.
Oh, that's great. And he had another question. This is concerning Bob Dylan. Now, those of you that are familiar with Ralph's music, you'll know that Bob Dylan came in and did a song with Ralph and the Clinch Mountain Boys on Clinch Mountain Country. You can still get that double CD, and it is just super. Bob Dylan, story has it that he came to Coburn, stopped at one of the convenience stores or gas stations, and asked, where does Ralph Stanley live? And it just tore the town apart.
Well, I'd say that could be very possible, Freddie, because Bob Dylan and me are good friends, and he does some of the songs that I feature on all of his shows, so the folks have told me. And Bob said when he came in and recorded with me that was the highlight of his life, recording a song with me. And I was told that he turned down maybe 22 other people that same year, and I was the only one that he recorded with. And I enjoyed recording with Bob Dylan. He was a fine feller as far as I'm concerned, and he, like me, he don't say too much, but we had a good time. Recording, that was the Lonesome River. And we did it a little different style of what had been done, and that helped my record tremendously. I've had people come up to me, like New York City, California, and say, this is the first time we ever saw you, but the reason we're here, we heard you with Bob Dylan. And we've all been fans for him for life, you know.
Yeah.
Since we was little boys or whatever, little girls or whatever, and said now we're just as much your fans. So I appreciate Bob Dylan. I think he helped out our CD a lot.
What do you remember most? When I understand what he flew in, maybe to Roanoke or somewhere. Didn't y'all record this?
He flew into Nashville from California, and there's a terrible thunderstorm, and he come in drowned and wet, and he come in dressed up good, and he was just...
He's ready to sing, wasn't he, when he showed up?
He was ready to sing, and I think he enjoyed it, and I'm very proud that Bob helped me record.
But we're not sure if he came to Coburn, are we?
No, I don't know about that.
I hadn't heard it either, but They say he has, so
Well, it's very possible, yeah.
probably has.
Because he speaks very highly of me everywhere, and I appreciate it.
Well, Clinch Mountain Country, the double CD, wouldn't you say that CD, other than Oh Brother, Where Art Thou, even before this movie, that double CD did about as good for you as anything you've recorded, hadn't it?
Yeah, it was #1 bluegrass, the best recorded event of the year, and it won all kinds of things.
Stayed #1 forever.
I got in country magazines, Wall Street Journal, New York Times, and I just been a big celebrity everywhere doing all that.
Yeah, I tell you, I have to tell this one on him. We were walking up the walkway a while ago for this interview, and I said, Ralph, you keep trading cars. I like this new car here. And I'm looking at it, and what did you tell me?
I said if I hadn't liked cars, and what else did I say?
Cattle.
And
cattle and cars.
And cattle's so good because I've kept cattle for a long time and lost money on them every year. And when you buy a car and drive it around the block, you lose $3,000 or $4,000. So I've lost a lot of money that way. I said I'd have been 4 times a millionaire now, where I ain't worth over $1,000 right now.
I don't know about that. But you loves cars.
I love cars.
And you cattle. You know, I've been around you, gosh, since I was a little boy and everything. You used to coon hunt my dad.
Yeah, I've coon hunted Dad. Yes, sir, I sure have.
My Uncle Creed helped do your festival all those years,
Yeah,
and you've been you sang at his funeral, and
sang
Ralph
at
and I
his-
appreciate that.
I didn't enjoy it.
I understand
You know
that.
what I mean, but he was one of my best friends.
And I know you get requests all the time, and it's just not humanly possible to be at all funerals and to sing for everybody. But, you came off the road to do that. You and the entire Clinch Mountain Boys, and I'll never forget that.
I certainly did. And another gentleman that I sung was Delmer Phillips at his funeral.
Yeah.
You remember Delmer?
Delmer, a cousin of mine, and one of the first law enforcement members of our family, and I'm glad to be following in his footsteps.
And one of the best that ever served.
He's a good man, wasn't he?
Yes, sir.
I miss him a lot.
I missed him awful much.
Well, I tell you what, I remember the first time that I got to see a full-blown concert. I mean, for years my folks wouldn't let me come to your festival. It was pretty rough.
Yeah.
They wouldn't let me come up to the festival. But anyway, it killed me. But you did a show for my dad was president of the Coon Hunter Association in Dickinson County, Lord, back in the 70s and 80s. And you remember that time you packed them out down to Irvington?
I certainly do.
Keith Whitley was your lead singer.
Yeah.
That was a wonderful show.
I certainly do. We played it for the Coon Hunters Association.
Well, this man does so much for charitable organizations, sportsmen, outdoor organizations. We appreciate you for that. We really do.
Well, I've always tried to do, all I could to that. I like to help people.
And you're an
out.
outdoorsman. I mean, this beautiful home you have, and how many acres do you have? Do you know right off?
Altogether now, I bought 6 acres to start with, but
I know you got more than that now.
I've got more than that now. I've got, I guess, 35 acres now.
How many head of cattle do you have?
I've got around 15 right now. I sold most of my cattle. I just wanted enough to keep the weeds and so forth.
And the grass down.
And the grass down. So I wouldn't have to mow it.
All right. Now, you haven't been back from Nashville very long. You've recorded what they say is going to be another one of the biggest albums you've ever done in your life.
Well, I hope so.
Clinch Mountain Sweethearts.
Clinch Mountain Sweethearts, all girls.
I like the title and the concept of this.
Yeah. Yeah, we've got a good one. We've already finished it now, and it's on its way, to market.
Well, when when is that thing going to escape? You say they escape. They don't get released. They escape.
Yeah, they escape. Around the last of June or 1st of July.
And who all's on it?
Well, I can't remember.
I know
everybody.
Pam Tillis was on it because when I saw you and God Be With You down to the Opry last time, she came down and sang with you on stage, and
Right,
you just got a studio with her.
We sung it that night.
Pam's a good singer.
Pam Tillis and Jeannie Seeley. We got Melba Montgomery, Dolly Parton, Shelley Wright, Maria Mulder, I call her. She's from California, though.
Okay.
But she is a fine singer. And we've got Gail Davies and this young girl.
Was it Leanne Womack? Didn't she come in and do?
No, she wanted to, but she didn't get to come. But
I know she had wanted to. Yeah.
this young girl that had a number one hit just a while back,
Oh boy.
What is
I'm
her
like
name?
you, Ralph. They've been some.
Sarah Evans.
Oh, Sarah Evans.
Sarah
Okay.
Evans is on it, and well, there's about 12 or 13 or 14 of them on there. I can't remember the name.
How many songs are going to be on it? Do you remember?
16.
16 songs.
Mm-hmm.
Now you know that me and Porter's close.
Yeah.
Let's talk about Dolly Parton. What was it like to record with Dolly?
Well, Dolly, you know, Dolly's just about one of my favorite, female singers.
Or she can sing.
Of course, I can't rule out Patti Loveless. She's a dandy, and I think she'll help the record a lot. And she done a fine job.
What did you and Dolly sing? Do you remember?
Loving You Too Well.
Wow.
And in my opinion, she does a better job on that than any country song she ever sung.
I can't wait to hear this. So you think the end of June, 1st of July, it'll be out.
Mm-hmm.
And I've had some people ask me today for this interview. They think that you're doing a project, a clawhammer project. Is that true?
Yeah, I've already finished that. It'll be out this summer sometime. I forgot one, you know, Ralph II, you know, my son.
Yeah, well, I'm going to talk about it.
His wife recorded with me.
On Clinch Mountain Sweethearts?
Yeah, Christy. Christy's her name. It's supposed to have been Christy Ison, but I believe I saw it on one of the... They sent me a preview of it, Christy Stanley, I believe.
Wow.
She done a good job.
Yeah, she can sing. Lord, Christy can sing. Now tell me about this clawhammer project.
Well, I finished that up about 3 weeks ago and sent it in to Rebel, you know. It'll be out... Well, we've got 3 or 4 in the can right now.
Well, that's what I was going to say. You've been busy.
We've got one album that's re-recorded 4 or 5 years ago. It's not out yet. The Clawhammer and the Sweethearts, all in the can, ready to come out just as soon as we can. We don't want to release them too often, you know. We don't want to. You know, you can get foundered on chocolate pie. So we don't want them. Just the people foundered on my records.
I'm going to send them a copy out here. I want to commend the people at Varice Saraband out in Universal City, in California, near Hollywood. They took these masters to Hollywood and prepped them up a little bit, brought them up as far as the levels to today's sound. But it's still original, the music and the sound. I understand that, let's see, this is called Ralph Stanley Clinch Mountain Boys, Echoes of the Stanley Brothers. Now, zoom in real close right here, Ernie. I'll hold this up for just a moment. This was one heck of a lineup of the Clinch Mountain Boys. You'll see on this album cover right here, there's Ricky Skaggs kneeling. Keith Whitley in the lineup. Roy Lee Centers wasn't he singing for you that time?
Roy Lee Centers, yeah.
And you see, I'm not exactly looking at it right off, but I know there's Curly Ray Klein. And if I missed anybody right here?
Jack Cook.
Jack Cook. I see you, Jack.
That's about all, I guess.
Yeah, that was your lineup. And it says tracks 1 through 12 were originally recorded from the album Michigan Bluegrass, 1971. Tracks 13 to 24 were originally from the album Sing Gospel Echoes of the Stanley Brothers, 1973. So 2 albums that's been put, and they sound great on this right here. And, you know, I wanted to mention that, how good that sounds, but you know, it seems like every company that's ever had any dealings with you, boy, they're flooding the market now because of this movie.
Well, that's true. You know,
every record, there's more records of you than there are Frank Sinatra or Elvis Presley or Garth Brooks on the market now.
I guess I've recorded more than I know I've recorded more than anybody that's ever been in the business.
How many albums have you got?
About 185.
185 albums.
Yeah. 185.
Well, they're bringing just about all 185 out of the woodworks now, aren't they?
You know, Rebel released a new one, called it Man of Constant Sorrow. King released Man of Constant Sorrow.
Featuring Old Death.
Featuring Old Death. And, of course, Mercury, there's the original. You know, we recorded that for Mercury back in the 50s.
That Angel Band set, that's been very popular. Your box set, that's been a big seller, hasn't it?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, it has, yeah.
So all these records are flooding the market. And you said this album that you recorded about 3 years ago that's in the can. What kind of music's on it, Ralph?
Well, it's
not the Clawhammer, is it?
No,
and it's not the Clinch Mountain Sweetheart.
No, it's just a regular secular album with a lot of new songs, and it's got the very same people on it that I've got today.
The current lineup in your band, which consists of?
Today.
James Price.
James Price, James Shelton, and
Steve Sparkman.
Steve Sparkman, Ralph II, and
Who are we leaving out?
I'm on that.
Jack.
The mayor's
We
on
mentioned
that.
Jack.
And
Rigsby.
Steve
John,
Sparkman.
Yeah, and John Rigsby there.
John Rigsby.
That's who I was forgetting right off the bat.
Yeah, they're all with me right now.
What a great band. This is, let me mention, this is one of the best lineups I think you've ever had.
I think it is too.
You've had some great
I
singers.
think all the way around, this is about the best band I've had.
You sure have. I sit back and think about this. I can't wait to hear this album. I'm sure a lot of people are thinking the same thing. Are they saying when they're going to release this?
No, it's just on, I don't know when they release it. You know, this last gospel album we've got out.
It just come out, too.
Yeah, While the Ages Roll On.
Boy, it's hot in it.
That was recorded the same time that the one I'm talking about.
About 3 years ago.
3 or 4 years ago.
One Drop of Water. We're getting a lot of requests for that.
Yeah. We get requests for it on the stage. And then Daddy's Wildwood Flowers is really popular, too.
Good Lord's been good to you, hasn't he?
Lord have mercy, I reckon. I'm thankful, too. I give him credit.
Well, I appreciate that, Ralph. Didn't you first hear singing other than from your mother? Didn't you first hear it from the old regular church, wasn't it?
I always went to the Primitive Baptist.
The Primitive Baptist Church?
Yeah.
And that where a lot of your phrasing comes from?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. That's where I learned a lot of that.
Wow.
Old Baptist. Old Primitive Baptist.
That's just something else. And, of course, your book has been out for some time now.
Yeah, Traveling the Highway Home, it's been out, I guess, 5 years, hasn't it?
4 or 5. And it's sold real well, hasn't it?
Yeah, it's sold real well.
And how about that movie that they put out on you last year? That Ralph Stanley story.
It's doing real good, and that's got a lot of things in it that was never put out before. And I'd like to tell you another thing that's coming out. I already have the preview of that. That is a video of the Old Brother soundtrack. It's coming out.
Wow.
And it's called Coming Down from the Mountain. And the way, now they really feature me on that. They start that off with me leaving here on the bus, singing "The Man of Constant Sorrow." The very way that the way they repeat the lines.
Mm-hmm.
See, Carter and me sung that. We sung it that way in the 50s, and that's the way it's done. In other words, that's the record. It's on that video. Man of Constant Sorrow. Well, I'm riding that bus. It takes me down through Tom's Creek, and it takes me all through
Coburn?
the highway all the way to Nashville.
Wow.
And when I finish singing that song, I'm getting out of a white limousine in front of the Ryman Auditorium. That's why they called it Coming Down from the Mountain.
Wow. When's that going to be out?
Just anytime.
Anytime?
30 days.
Wow. I can't. Hopefully it'll be out for the festival.
No, I doubt it's been out by then, but it'll be out long June
Soon.
sometime, yeah.
Wow. How many road dates you going to be doing this year, 2001?
I think about 150 probably, I guess.
You're as busy now, if not busier than you've ever been in your career, haven't you?
Yeah, I'm real busy now. I'm playing a lot of new places now. But for the last 10 years, I've had to turn down festivals every year.
Mm-hmm. Just can't pack them all in there, can you?
But we're playing more in the wintertime now and so forth.
Yeah. I got to ask you this question before we get out of this interview, and we could do a 5-hour interview probably, never cover the entire career. You've had like 3 careers, Ralph. You really have. Your solo career, of course, with your brother Carter, and this newfound career, it seems like. But you've never stopped touring, have you?
Never. No,
Never stopped.
Never stopped touring since 1946.
1946. But you know, a lot of kids now, and I say kids, teenagers, college kids, they come up to me and they call the radio station. They still want to know, who is Carter Stanley? Of course, a lot of people are not aware that he passed away at the end of 66, but you can really thank that movie because a lot of people really, I'm sure they ask you, don't they, when you go to shows?
There's so many that comes to our shows right now say this, we never heard of you.
Mm-hmm.
See, if it had really been put out right and let 1 million or 2 or 4 or 5 million people heard the Constant Sorrow, I might have hit with it.
Wow.
The people didn't hear that, see. Now they're hearing it. And now they're hearing me sing it, and I can't keep that album.
But when they ask me that, and of course we tell them the gist of the story, people in Nashville to this day say that he wrote the book on country lyrics. I ask you, who was Carter Stanley? In your words.
Well, Carter Stanley, was my brother, and he was 18 months older than me. And he was a wonderful singer. He was a good #1 songwriter. I've wrote several songs, but he wrote 3 or 4 times as many as I did. And he was sort of the leader of the band. He done the MC work and so forth, while I was working back in the background, like doing some booking and keeping books. And
keeping the band together and
everything.
everything.
The band together. And he just, Carter Stanley is a man that'll never be replaced. I know for me, I've had a lot of good lead singers, but they can't get right down and bring out that natural thing that Carter brought out.
Well, we miss him. I know you do, and the whole world does, and so forth like that. Well, and I've got to ask you this before we get out. What's the favorite song you've ever recorded?
Well, I've been asked that many times.
And I'm sure you have.
And I've got so many good ones, I can't really tell you.
Name me 2 or 3 then. If you can't nail it down to one, give me a few.
Sorrow's one, Pretty Polly's one, and Lonesome River's one, The White Dove, and just songs like that.
Well, I know you recorded The White Dove with my old friend Porter Wagner.
Yeah.
Boy, that was something, wasn't it?
Yeah, Porter done a good job.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He and his brother grew up singing that, and he says that had a lot to do with his career.
If I'm not mistaken, I believe he told me that's the first song he ever sung.
Yeah, first song you ever learned.
White Dove.
Well, I know he's been a great friend of yours, hasn't he?
He certainly has.
He's a great friend of mine, too.
And I think he spoke a lot of good words for me for the Grand Ole Opry, too.
What's ahead of you as we
That's why they asked me who I wanted to
induct you into the opera?
I said Porter Wagner.
Yeah, I remember that.
Yeah. What's in the future?
What's in the future, Al?
Well, to just keep going as long as I'm able. I'm 74 years old, and you never know. Of course, young people, can fade out now, but you never know. But I hope I'm going around a few more years yet. When I get till I don't think I can please the people, I don't want to never half do something. And when I get till I get in that shape, well, I'm going to come home. But until then, I think I'll be picking.
I wish Ralph, too, could have been with us here. We're going to do a special with you and him somewhere down the road when we can get you two together. He's in Nashville recording his new album, or finishing his new album. And, boy, I see this German Shepherd up here every time I come up
That's
here.
Ralph's dog. Here comes the spoon player.
Come here, Spoon Man, before we close this interview out right here. Introduce this gentleman here. Hurry, son. We're running out of time here. I know him, but introduce him to the crowd here.
Okay, this is my grandson here. He's Evan's brother, and he's Tanya, my youngest daughter's young man, and he's 8 years old, and he's stayed with me and his mama ever since he was born. He won't go stay with his mother.
He loves his mother, but he's a Clinch Mountain boy already.
He's a Clinch Mountain boy, and he plays the spoons. He's been on television, on the Grand Ole Opry.
But he travels on the road as a full-fledged member, doesn't he?
Yeah, that's what I say. And
How old are you now, son?
8.
8 years old. But he started much younger, didn't he?
yeah, he's been going about 2 or 3 years. But anyway, he goes every chance he gets to get out of school. But he's, I guess he's my #1 man. #1 buddy, I guess. Is that right, Nathan?
Yes.
Right there with old Ralph, too. And like I said, we're going to be talking to you with Ralph, too, when he gets back.
Okay, fine.
We'll save it for that, okay?
Okay.
Ralph, thank you for spending time with me.
Thank you, Freddie. I've enjoyed it.
Well, I've enjoyed it. And thank you for adding me as your newest announcer. I know you ain't had but about 4 or 5 of them in your whole 31-year career at the festival.
Okay, you do a good job, Freddie, and you'll be there as long as you want to.
Well, I wasn't going to ask you, but thanks for giving me that endorsement.
Okay.
God bless you, brother. I appreciate you.
Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, he's at the top of the world in country music, bluegrass, old-time mountain music, he likes to call it, right?
Old-time mountain music, what they call bluegrass.
Friends, Dr. Ralph Stanley. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time. Backstage with Freddie Phillips and Friends. Good night.